Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today is Monday, December 5th, 2022. For some reason, I don't know the days, but that's the reason. The reason for that is because I work overnight. Everything tends to blend into each other, and I got to come into work guessing because I remember it coming in and say, what the day is again. But today I have Bishop Walter Hanschel, who's going to be joining me today. We're going to be talking about Great Commission and the things that he's going to be doing, or that he is doing, him and his wife and his team are doing on that Wolf Road there. And I wanted to go in detail because he was saying that there are a number of Bahamians who are hurting. And I was trying to understand, what do you mean by hurting? You know, there are one or two Bahamians who are challenged, but hurting is such a harsh word. So I'm saying that I decided to invite him in, and he is on his way up. Aaron went downstairs to pick him up, so I'm hopefully that he's down there for him to be picked up. And I want to have a frank discussion with Bishop Hanschel. And I want to put it forward to him on whether, and see me, this is me being poking the bear, whether his works, what he and a number of other bishops are doing, is actually working, right? I know that there's a commandment from our great Lord said that feed my sheep, take care of my sheep. But I also remember the point is, by the sweat of your brow you shall eat, right? And I'm trying to say, is what Bishop Hanschel is doing, is it working? Right? Because there are long lines. There are long lines at Great Commission where Bishop Hanschel and his team for feeding people who would, in any other day, would not have any food to eat. And for lack of a better word, starving. And I'm trying to find out what is causing that. How come his ministry have to fill in the gap for that? Why isn't the government systems working with that, right? So that's the type of conversation I want to hear. And I want to hear some anecdotal stories because I'm a doubting Thomas. I'm a doubting Thomas saying that Bahamians, there are some challenged Bahamians, but it can't be the numbers that is being suggested by the bishop. It can't be, because he's talking hundreds to thousands of people just in New Province alone. And I know that the Family Islands are challenged, but to see the bread lying at Great Commission, to see the bread lying at the Singing Bishop place where he's saying he's feeding 2,000, 3,000 Bahamians per day, I have a problem with that. And my problem is that I believe that we are duty bound to teach Bahamians how to fish. And looks like we are now facilitating just giving them fish. And unfortunately, it has made a number of Bahamians lazy, right? And where they say, man, I ain't doing nothing for this. I'm entitled to this free food. I'm entitled to these free clothing. And I a story to him about Jesus and when he fed the 5,000. That even when Jesus fed the 5,000, they had to listen to him preach. And he didn't preach for one 5 minutes or 10 minutes. He preached for 1 hour, right? Hour plus. And that's what they got the food for. And I'm trying to say, Bishop, when you are taking care of these needy people, are you demanding of them? Are they required to do something for this food? Or am I just being selfish? Am I just being mean? Am I just a mean person, right? Demanding that these people work for food. Am I just being negative to the indigent and poor people? So that's the type of conversation I'm going to have today. And I'm going to also have a conversation whenever he comes up about what type of help the bishop needs. Because I know he's going to start a housing program soon. I think he got granted a plot of land, but he needs to finance the building of 100 dwelling houses for persons who cannot afford finding housing to live. I'm a little concerned with that. I find that there are times a number of poor people can't maintain a place. And I'm trying to see what type of checks and balances will be instituted. You put poor people into your nice apartment, not intentional by them, but by ways and habits, it can get break down. And I don't know. See, again, my money, and maybe because I have that Ackland's blood inside me, right? My money, I just get frustrated and angry about, especially when I work hard for it. If I give Mr. Hanchel, Bishop Hanchel, my money to build these housing for these people, and it started looking in disrepair, I can be vexed. I can be vexed at it, and I can say, go look at the bishop and say, Bishop, what you doing? So these are the conversation I'm going to be having with the bishop when he comes in, right? Because I want to know what is the plan. I want to know why isn't government filling this gap, and why is there such a demand by institutions like his? Why the network, plus the Great Commission, plus the Singing Bishop, plus all of these hotels that to donate food and whatever it is? Why are so many Bahamians hurting? And not just hurting poor, hurting just to get something to eat. That just don't make sense to me, right? I can understand that every so often you need a plate of food, right? But not a plate of food every day. And I'm saying, are these people mentally challenged, or that they're unable to work and take care of themselves? Therefore, is a need, demand by government and social entities to facilitate these things? Are the people who demanding these clothing and stuff like that, are they really Bahamians? Because I know that it's being circulated that a number of let me choose the word, because people get offended so easily. New Bahamians, a number of new Bahamians, because they come from a poor state, because they come from impoverishment, that they are now demanding. They're now demanding of our state, of our churches, to facilitate their needs and demands, right? So I find all of that a concern, right? Let's see what this text says. It's a great show as usual. If you're from Acklands, you cheap. That money crazy glue to your wallet. You have a kung fu grip on your money. That might be so, no, but I want to concentrate on the poverty level in the Bahamas, right? Again, I mentioned I work overnight, right? There are times when I traversing that West Bay Street to drive toward East, right? I see a car. I'm not going to tell you exactly where the car is parked, but there's a lady who lives inside this car, right? And she secures a good parking space where it's lighted so she could be safe. And I'm trying to say, there's no institution, any government entity that has intervened and find a house for that lady. No woman is safe on the streets, right? And I'm sure this lady is trying to be independent, right? And fend for herself, and she's working and trying to get back to her status where she live. But I find that women are fragile in general, right? They have things that men is fight and cut and kill for, right? And to know that a good Bahamian woman is on the street struggling, putting herself at risk, right? And no governmental agency has yet to come and say, hey, miss, I understand that you want to do this on your own, but let me help you, Let me help you with this, because we want to keep you safe. I have another text here say, you are 100% correct about feeding the poor every day on Wolf Road. And I like helping people, right? I donate every so often when I can. I donate clothing, I donate canned items, I donate food items, I donate money. And every so often when I do have a chance, I donate even time, right? To say, let me help and volunteer here, right? But I'm just seeing that the numbers are expanding. It's not, I expect to see maybe 100 Bahamians, like on a Monday, then on a Wednesday, then on a Friday, perhaps. Or even on a Sunday after church, perhaps. But if you go on past Wolf Road by Great Commission, it ain't no 100 people in it, right? It's about maybe 600, 700 there daily. I mean, hand children busy, busy feeding people, right? They're busy. I see another text here. It says, hello, Mr. Newry. I noticed there is a lady who sits on the hill by C.R. Walker. She's there with bags, a suitcase. I believe she may be staying there, but I don't know how, right? And yeah, and mind you, there are a number of women again. And actually, it's not that I care more about women in contrast to men, but when you see women are on the street panhandling and having a hard time, it tells a tale about our society. It tells a tale about our consciousness. It tells a tale about our Christianity. And I'm concerned that we are no longer Christians because of how they're treating our women. And it's not just women, it's children. I didn't know that we still have the government food program in schools, right? Apparently, they still get free lunch. And mind you, when I was in primary school, they gave out free lunch. You had a white box. You had an orange inside. You had a sandwich inside there. And then you get one Borden's drink, right? And I didn't understand exactly what it meant, right? I just said, oh, these people getting the free lunch, right? But I couldn't appreciate that there were poor students going to school with me. It didn't make sense. I understand that we had working class people who attended school, but I assumed that everyone could afford a sandwich, right? Could afford a drink, right? But there are a number of Bahamian children who can't afford to get one uniform outfit, who can't afford to get lunch every day, who can't afford the luxuries of taking care of themselves, that is buying grease and toothpaste and feminine napkin or whatever it is, that there are destitute children out there, and civil society has yet to answer and correct that problem. And if they unable to answer that issue, then the problem is ours. The problem is that we are broken, right? And this is why I assume that Bishop Hanschel is filling in that gap to correct such, right? And I'm waiting on Bishop Hanschel to reach the studio. He's running late, the traffic, whatever it is, and I'm more like he's busy again feeding these people. But I want to know why there are so many persons who are destitute. And in the capital, New Providence, I can't even imagine Grand Bahama, where they're in economic decline. I can't imagine the Family Islands, where their economy has been depressed for decades. I'm assuming they just used to government helping them now. They're used to social services dropping off food stamps, and this is how they survive. I know I've been communicating with some people in Andros who said that everyone, and I'm sure they was exaggerating, everyone in North Andros have some type of social services support in some manner of section. You say if you go to the food store, who that food? That rural people I think own that food store in North Andros. Anyway, if you go to the food store in North Andros, the big food store in North Andros, the whole thing is on credit, right? Or everyone paying with Social Security checks, whatever it is, and the people who hardly have cash down there. See, I find that concerning. See, that vexes me. That means that we are facilitating a problem that is so grand, so big, so overwhelming, that we are no longer fixing the problem. We are band-aiding the problem, right? And this is where my premise comes, right? Where I find it uneasy. I find it that I have doubts. I am dubious. I am uneasy with donating to food networks because they're either not feeding the soul or not feeding our Bahamians capabilities of taking care of themselves, right? And if they're not feeding the Bahamian ability to take care of themselves, I have a problem with that. And I saying that, no, I ain't giving you all no money no more. I can't give you all no money no more because we are now expanding these people destitute, right? And I believe that if you're not teaching them how to do a trade, You're not teaching them how to take care of themselves in terms that, hey, you have showers and facilities, whatever it is. You're not teaching them customer service or soft skills. Then they should not eat. See, that's brash. People say, but I'm uncaring. But see, I still believe in that old adage which said, by the spread of your brow. The spread of the brow you shall eat. And I am concerned that we are pacifying a number of Bahamians and not correcting this issue. And then another issue I find I come across is we seem to have a proliferation of mentally ill, mentally challenged people on the streets. You go on our main thoroughfare, Bay Street, where the tourist is be, especially if you go near the bridge by going over to coming back from Paradise Island. There seems to be like a boatload, a shipload of persons who has mental challenges. If you go on East Street, if you go on Wolf Road, you go on by National Insurance, you go in Fox Hill, you go on by Burger King on Soldier Road and Soldier Road and Wolf Road there. There are clearly persons who have mental issues. They're by the scores. They're not like 3 or 4, we say the resident Junta anymore. They're like in the hundreds, right? And I'm trying to say, what has caused that? What has these people to the point where if you go to that church on Fark, Michael would say they demon possessed, but I would say that they are having mental breakdowns, and we have yet to address it. We just don't know what to do. And I'm asking, are our government facilities, who is responsible for checks and balances and making sure that Bahamians are okay, doing an adequate job? Our church is doing an adequate job. And I would dare to say, no, man, they patching. They like we're doing with the potholes. They patching the potholes, but the holes are getting bigger, right? The holes are getting bigger. And I am concerned. Especially how I see that we're spending monies, right? Especially when you know that Bishop Hanchel has to solicit money to build housing facilities for people who are indigent. That shouldn't happen. You should just announce, say, I want to build houses for the poor and indigent, and the places like Rotary, places like Kiwanis, supposed to come and say, here, see the money, and I get a bill overnight. But these things are happening. But I have a text here that says, C.A. Newry, how do we strike the balance and ensure as a society that those that are truly in need are actually receiving help? This is one of the issues I have with these feeding centers, right? Because I believe there should be some type of census as to who are they feeding. I need to know the names, even if it's just first names. I need to know their ages, the demographics of them. I need to know if they're Bahamian citizens or they are transient citizens, coming to the country, and because they're poor and indigent and living in shanty towns, that they are receiving aid and support. And I don't believe that is happening. I need to know if they're mentally stable, right? I need to know their story to say, well, these persons went through some kind of whatever it is, some kind of big issue. I see Bishop Hanchel is walking right now, so I can start it off as soon as he comes straight inside. I see the next text say, are all those persons on Hanchel's food line in need, or are they just taking advantage of the free food? And I asked him that. No, I believe that a number of them are taking advantage, and only Bishop Hanchel can say that because he interacts with these people every day, right? But I'm going to go straight into the conversation with Bishop Hanchel because he's finally here. I know he's a busy man, and I will start off with him explaining what Great Commission is, what's the objective, so he can make a plea, and then I can start off early by his new project, which is the housing project, and then I'm going to ask him the tough questions. So that's where I'm going to start off from, and then I'm going to ask. Then the third question I'm going to answer Bishop Hanchel is, I know you're a man of God, and you feel that the mandate is for you to feed the sheep, Jesus' sheep. But are you really feeding them by feeding them, or are you crippling them? But let's go about Great Commission. Then secondly, the project that you're trying to finance. And then I start asking the tough questions.
Good morning, Mr. Newry. First of all, let me apologize for running late.
These things happen. You're a busy man. I just need you to start right now. I understand what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And good morning to your listeners. I am so happy to be alive. I don't start a day unless I celebrate the goodness of God. And I want to say that the Lord has been good to me, and I am extremely grateful for His grace and His mercy over my life. I really could have, or some people say should have, been dead, but the Lord had mercy on me and healed my body from 2 cancers. And I'm alive today, so I celebrate life every single day. I am so grateful to be in the land of the living. I watch people die around me with lesser illnesses, but I'm here, and I give God praise. I want to thank the Lord for my dear wife, Minnie, who stuck with me throughout my affliction, and I'd like to say thank you to the thousands of Bahamians and pastors and friends who prayed for me when I was almost dead on my bed of affliction. And I want to thank those who supported me financially. And I am so grateful today. So thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show today, sir. And I'm excited about life. I'm excited about Great Commission Ministries. That's where the Lord placed me almost 40 years ago. And I am so delighted to serve the people of the Bahamas in the way that God has assigned me. And I intend to be faithful right to the end.
What happened 40 years ago that you took this mandate on?
Well, shortly after I was converted, I went out into the streets, winning souls. And I did a lot of work in the prison and Sandilands, the hospitals, on the streets, in the parks. And I've been doing that for years. And as you minister to people, you get to find out about their needs and their hurt. And from way back then, in the 80s, people were suffering from then. And it has just grown. It has just worsened.
And when you say suffering, what do you mean by that?
Poverty.
See, and I hear, okay, social ills broad, and I hear you, right? Mm-hmm. And I have a problem trying to fathom in my head that there's a large segment of Bahamians who are suffering. I think the number is small. Are you saying the number is bigger than my small imagination?
Far bigger than most people could imagine. There was a time when the numbers were not as big, and I'm not just talking about people who need food. I'm talking about people who truly, even people who are working. We have the poor and we have the working poor. We have people
poor and
who work, and they are poor, and they can see no way out because if your bills are much higher than your income, you're in poverty.
Yes.
You're in poverty because you run out of money every month, and you have to struggle just to survive, and that's what is happening to at least 50% of the Bahamian population.
That number's scary, Bishop.
At least 50%, in my view, and I think they should do a science survey. I don't know why they don't deal with these things and give us facts and figures, but they don't. So you have to guesstimate some of these things. But with me being on the ground, I can tell you that poverty is a major problem in this country. Poverty. In this country with so many and so much resources, so much money, so many investors, and they said we're the third most, the highest paid GDP
per capita, yes,
per capita in North America, and it doesn't look so. It's not reaching the average Bahamian person.
And that's maybe perhaps why I have concern when you said it's a lot of Bahamians. And I want to hear some anecdotal stories on what type of people you come across, so I can understand and appreciate what you say poverty. But I want to ask this before then, right? I know you are concentrating on just feeding people.
No, that's not our
Correct
focus.
me. Go ahead.
Great Commission focus from we started in 1987 officially. 1987 was the official start, but we started before then, 35 years ago. But our mandate is to feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, clothe the naked, and care for the hurting. That is what we do. We are called to do that. That's our focus. Our focus is also to win souls. Great Commission means to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. So our ministry is an avenue for us to minister to people and bring them to Christ. They have to see Jesus. He didn't just preach to people; he met their needs, their spiritual needs, their emotional needs, their physical needs, and that's what Great Commission is all about. We don't just focus on just feeding. Our goal is to spiritually empower people, just to meet their emotional needs, which is very difficult and it's very costly.
I want to ask you how you can do that.
Yeah.
When you driving past, we see the lines. We see your line wrap around, right? And we want to know, when do you have time to administer to these people's souls?
Everybody that you run into every day, no matter how they look, they might look like success. They might have money in the bank, but I'll tell you what, they have a story. And if you hear some of their stories, everybody has a story. Where people are right now, they were not always there. I'll give you an example. We have persons that we minister to now that I would say about 10 years ago, they were doing very well. But they became victims. They fell through the cracks. Persons who had a good job and a good future, and they were able to pay their bills, they were able to feed their families and pay their bills. But things change. Circumstances causes people to sometimes not be able to do the things that they want to do. For example, I know not one family, but a couple of families where both husband and wife are unemployed.
Yes. With COVID, we found that happen a lot.
Yeah, but if a husband and a wife are unemployed, they have children in private school or public school, they have mortgage or rent, they have bills, they have to buy food, they have to pay insurance, they have to deal with health care, all these things. Listen to me. That's a crisis that people are in. And we have, I believe, hundreds of people in that very same position right now. And there are times when you might have a family of maybe 7, 8 persons in one home, one person working, and that person only making $300-400 a week. That's just enough to take care of basically one person. But that money has to stretch and provide for that entire household. People can't afford to buy gasoline. I went to the gas station last week and I saw people putting in $10 gas.
It sounded like me last week. Go ahead.
$10. You know what $10 gas is?
I $10 gas recently.
$10 gas is less than 2 gallons of gas.
Got me from old east to old west. Right?
Yes, and then you have to find another $10.
I got to find another $10 to come back.
So I'm telling you how hard it is for the middle class. What am I saying? I'm saying that you can't tell the difference right now between the poor and the middle class.
Yes.
The middle class is the working poor. And things have shifted. And unless something is done, unless there's some strategies to empower, and when I say empower, I don't just mean jobs. I'm talking about to get Bahamians to a place where we could become owners of our economy and give people a start. Because the Bahamian people, the nation as a whole, CA, is hurting badly. In a lot of pain. Some people are suffering in silence. They they going through the motions and they trying to make you believe as though everything is okay. But if you could get into their life and you could see what is really happening, you can see the lack of funds. You can see the pressure that they under from not being able to pay their bills. You can see the sleepless nights where they up all night wondering how they're going to make it the next day, how they're going to pay this bill, how they're going to get food for their children. I had a young man came to me one day. He's a carpenter. And he said to me, he's been looking for a job for about 4 or 5 months. He has a wife and 3 children. And he said, there's not a piece of food in the house.
My Lord.
And he said to me that all the cupboards are empty. And his daughter said to him, Daddy, I'm hungry. And that hurt him so much that he couldn't provide food for his children.
I want you to stop right there, Bishop Hanchel. What can we do to help that, like a person like that?
Well,
that type of story.
I'll tell you what happened. He was in so much pain. This big grown man, he broke down and began to weep in my office. And he cried like a baby. And I had to put my hand on his shoulders and encourage him and say, man, you can come out of this. God can turn this around. You can make this. And you know what I had to do? I gave him a huge box of groceries that could take care of his family for 2 weeks. I gave him some money. I prayed with him. I gave him hope. And I said to him, I'm going to help you to find a job. And that's how you have to deal with people one-on-one. You can't just send them away. If a mother comes to me and says to me, I need some food for my family, I will never tell that mother I can't help her. You know why?
Go ahead, tell me why.
Even if we don't have food in our food bank, it is my responsibility to find some money to buy that food and give that mother that food so she could go home and feed her children. That's my responsibility, even not just as Great Commission. I'm talking about as a believer, as a Christian, as a child of God. Every Christian has that responsibility. You see, the Bible says that we are the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. We are righteous. But watch this. Righteousness demands that we be kind and generous. You can't be righteous and then shut up your bowels of mercy and people that come into you crying and hurting, and you just talking, but you're going to pray for them, or you telling them to come back and you running them around. No, that's not the way you have to deal with it. We have some Christians who do a very good job in reaching out and helping the people around them and ministering to people, and we have others who just don't care. And and as far as I'm concerned, if you don't care about the people who are hurting, you don't have Christ in you. You are just a fake Christian.
So, Bishop Andrew, let's talk numbers. I want to know what type of person you at your Great Commission. And when I say what type of person, let me explain. Is it male, female, majority male, female? Is it older people, younger people? Is it married couples, single people? Is there people with mental illnesses? What is the median?
The majority of the people that we see every day, that we minister to every day, are the poor. The poor. It is my view that most of them are unemployed. But I've noticed that the number of employed persons that come to us for assistance has risen. But the majority of them are persons who are unemployed. And I'll tell you some facts. Some of them are unemployable. Some of the persons that come to Great Commission Ministries, I wouldn't hire them. You wouldn't hire them.
Wow.
Because they don't have the skills. That some of them don't have the discipline. You know, some of those persons are on drugs. They need help with that substance abuse. Some persons are mentally challenged. So you can't hire them. You can't hire these people. You can't hire. They're unhireable. Yeah. So, but they are there, and the nation, the country, has a responsibility and the church, the country and the church, has a responsibility to help these people. We cannot ignore them. We cannot reject them, because if we reject them, if we ignore them, it is like rejecting Christ. God put them before us to see how we would treat them. And I preached last night, yesterday at a church, and I had to tell the people the same thing. You know, we have to have a heart for people. If you want God to bless you, and you want to move in the spirit, and you want to achieve certain things, you cannot ignore the poor. That's the first way to block your blessing. If you ignore the poor, you see people. For example, you drive past Great Commission Ministries every day for years. Mm-hmm. You know what we're doing.
You know what you're doing.
You see the people. You see the poor people. You see the hurting people.
You see the long
and
lines.
you never once stop and say, let me give $10 or let me give $50 to help feed some of these people. Never done it.
Something wrong.
You have so many people with money. I could see the flashy cars driving by every day. I can see money. These people, these are not poor people, but they would pass right by and wouldn't drop off $1. And wouldn't say, well, how can I help these poor people, and how could I be a part of this? You know, and they're in the hundreds like that, probably in the thousands like that, who they just don't care. People are just so selfish today. Not everybody, because we got a lot of kind-hearted, generous donors who we don't have to ask them for anything. God just touched them. They obey God, and they just come and they say, here's $500. Here's $1,000. Here's $2,000. They just come and they would bring money, and they would bring food, and they would bring meat, things that we need to take care of these people, because it's very costly.
And let's talk about that. But let me see if I can get this call up, because I see the caller keep on calling and hanging up. But let me see if I can answer it. Let's see. Caller, can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Bishop, I put on your earpiece right there, please.
Good afternoon, brother Ansel. How you doing, sir?
It doesn't have an on this yet, so give it a couple seconds. Go ahead now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ansel. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Real man of God. You know, I'm a poor person. You know, I'm a workaholic. And I served people for 20, 40 years. And I never go and did photo ops. I had to give away books, pencils, lunch monies, uniforms, send people back to school. If you understand what I'm saying, I knew they're right. A lot of people in this country rich, you know. They have these big time party, and before they buy up all the food and call yours, they throw all the food in the garbage. And I tell them good food. You see, but keep doing God work, you know, because like you say, see, a lot of people that go to church, but they're not Christian. I just say they church going people. And so for some kind of reason, we just left the, man, okay, when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, we just take care of each other. I mean, they let these foreigners come here and they adopting these foreigners mean spirit style. And I ain't call no foreigner name. Maybe people are loving people, sharing people. Mr. Newry, how we get like this, man?
I don't know.
How we get like this, my brother?
But we got to call him out and shame some behemoths so we can do better.
Man, okay, we got to keep doing it. Just keep doing God work, man.
Thank you for the encouragement.
Bishop Hancho, what all do you need? Like, on a daily basis, say me. Say, Newry, I need you to bring these type of items. I need you to bring this. I need you to donate that. If someone out there wanted to donate and was passing up and down but just didn't know what to do, what you need?
Our greatest need is meat and groceries.
And what you mean by meat? Raw meat?
I'll tell you the three things. Raw meat. Meat, when I say meat, I'm talking about spare ribs, pork chop, and we get a lot of people donate a lot of chicken to us. But I like to give my clients, who I treasure them, a variety of food. You know, very seldom we get fish donated, and these things are so expensive.
Chicken wings cheap. I mean, that's why you get a lot of chicken.
Yeah, we get a lot of chicken, and but what we need, I'd like for somebody to get us, or somebody who could raise some money for some meat, to get us about 1,000 pounds of pork chop and ribs.
We can store that pork chop. Do you have space for storage?
We have facility for storage.
Okay.
Right? We use 200 pounds of meat every day or more.
Wow.
Every day. And meat is very expensive, as you know. And any that somebody uses in the home, when you go shopping, whatever you have the same items that you use in your home, we have to use in our commercial kitchen. We just use it on a greater degree, a greater level, and so we use food, every type of food we use, rice, tomato paste, and all. Everybody, people
So
know.
I could bring you up a can of tomato paste and you could use it.
No, but I like people to ask to
ahead.
find out what we need. What's our greatest need? Our greatest need, if you want to know what we need, somebody called me a couple of days ago and said, Bishop, we want to do something for Great Commission. I said, great, praise the Lord, thank God. They said we want to do a clothes drive. I had to stop. I said, no. I said, we don't need no clothes. We don't need no clothes. People need food. Nobody hardly go naked in Nassau. There's plenty of clothes in Nassau. People, there's never a shortage of clothing. And I said, what we need, the only time people need clothes is if their house burned down. I said, what we need is food or money. You want to help Great Commission? Bring us $100 every month, or buy us a couple of cases of meat every week. That would go a long way in helping us, because it is, the cost of living has gone up because of inflation, and it's not easy to do what we do.
And Bishop Hanchel, I hear your plea when you say couple of cases. But when you say couple of cases, you knock me out. I can't afford a case of nothing. What do you want people like me, working class people like me, to bring in? I understand you have some donors who can afford a case of something. But I talk about the persons who passing by and with a little small car. What should they drop off?
Just drop off $50. That'll do well.
See, I can understand that.
And then we could get exactly what we need. Just drop off a $50, $100. Some people could do $200.
Yes.
Just drop off whatever you could. We have people who donate to us faithfully, and that's why Great Commission is still in operation. We have some kind, generous, compassionate people. Every month they bring us money. We have some people that come to us. They even don't want to tell us their names. They just come and donate. Sometimes hundreds and thousands of dollars.
And explain that donation process. We're talking money now. How do I go and drop off this money? What you say when you say drop off money? What you mean? How I do that?
You can do it in different ways. You can go into the office and drop off cash or check physically, or you can do a wire transfer and you can send money directly to our bank account. However they want to do it. Do
you happen to bring that bank account information?
Yes, I do.
Okay, this is bank account information.
Yeah.
Because I can have some people send you some money today.
Okay.
So everyone who's listening, I need us to let's do like $25, $50 to today, right now, as you listen, transfer it to Bishop Hanchel's Great Commission.
Great Commission Ministries account. And also, I'll tell you what we really need, CA. We have just launched, or not launched, we have relaunched our Live to Give program. And you're going to be hearing about that. It's every day, probably for the next 20 years. Because this is, we're trying to place something into the hearts of every Bahamian, and that is compassion, to help them to be compassionate, caring, and generous, kind, helping our neighbors, be our brother's keeper. So Live to Give is a program where we don't just see people hurting, but we purpose in our hearts to do something about it, to be a part of the solution. And so what we do is we ask persons, first of all, to sign up for Live to Give. And how do you sign up? Fill out a very short form, a very short application. And you fill that form out. And on that form, you could tick, I'd like to be a part of Live to Give, and I'd like to donate any amount that you want to donate every month. This is not just for individuals, but also for business owners. Business owners could donate something every month. Also, persons who are not, you might not be attached to a church, we ask you to don't hold on to your tithe. pay your tithe into God's storehouse. Great Commission Ministries is God's storehouse. The Bible says, bring ye what? The tithes and the offering. Where? Into my storehouse. Why? So there may be meat in my house. So Great Commission is literally God's storehouse. And if you are active in the church, yes, take your tithe to your church. And then you could bring a seed, a donation to Great Commission. But for the thousands of Bahamians who are not a part of a church, you're not affiliated with a church, then what you should do when you draw your salary every week or every month, don't keep everything. Take 10% and bring it to Great Commission and say, this is my tithe, and I want to take care of the poor with this.
Let's get that bank account number now, so people who listening can actually say, hey. But I understand that you can also bring it into the office and give it to the lady there, and then you get a deposit.
You get a receipt, yes.
But I want people who listening now, who are moved now, who have their phones to send the money now.
Okay, and let me say that. Well, by the way, we I think we need to get the sand dollar, because I see the sand dollar is getting popular. So I think I'm gonna ask our treasurer to work on getting the sand dollar, Mr. Linden. And by the way, we account for every single dollar that goes through Great Commission doors. Every dollar. We do bank state, we do bank accounts, financial accounts, and we are accountable. We are fully accountable for everything, and so every dollar is accounted for, and to anybody. We have nothing to hide. We are happy that we are able to serve above board, and so we also asking, as I look for this account number. We're also asking for persons businesses to give a tithe also. Mm-hmm. You know, a business, you could have a business and you could tithe your business. Mm-hmm. You have, whether small or big. Mm-hmm. You take 10%, and this is how wealthy people really make it, you know. Mm-hmm. A lot of wealthy people, they have in their budget 10% for charity. And I found out that those are the most successful businesses because there's a principle in place. Mm-hmm. Once you sow, you reap a harvest. But if you hold on to everything, it's difficult. People have difficulty in business. If somebody is a business person and you really want to see your business prosper, start giving to the poor. Start taking care of the poor. Mm-hmm. Start tithing at Great Commission Ministries, 10% every month. Or whatever you want to do, just do something, and you
we
will
definitely
see
have
a
a
change.
duty of care for the indigent in the Bahamas, and I know that Great Commission partners with or have been sponsored by government, and that government helps you in some kind of lesser degree. Tell me about that. How does government help you?
The government of the Bahamas has helped us for years, and we are so grateful and thankful for the government of the Bahamas and for giving us a grant, what they call a subvention, every year. It is not sufficient. It is nowhere near sufficient
You can't tell me the amount.
for our budget. Yes, I don't mind telling you what it is. Presently they give us, I think, about $76,000 a year in two payments, every 6 months, 36,000, and you know. And what they give us is, we appreciate it,
Yeah, man.
but it's not enough to, what they give us is just enough probably to last us, to take us through 1 month.
That's light and water bill, and
You know, yeah, that's just 1 month expenses. But we are grateful for it because every dollar counts. But our banking information is Great Commission Ministries, Commonwealth Bank, Star Plaza, and the account number is 1002208. 1002208. Great Commission Ministries, Commonwealth Bank, Star Plaza branch. The branch code is 21101-021. I don't think they're going to need that.
And I'm asking anyone who's listening now, right, whilst they have the chance, especially those people with a smartphone and can transfer a couple dollars. You ain't got to be much, no, but transfer a couple dollars right now. And I can have Bishop Chantel just read one more time so they can write down the number and then transfer one $25, transfer one $50 to Great Commission to help them with their activities and the feeding program. And he also mentioned that, hey, if you have come across some meat, drop off the meat.
Thank you.
While you're passing by. But he's going to give that number again, so make sure people can, and of course, you can always, if you're driving past, you can always stop and drop off one $20 at the office there. But go ahead with the number.
I don't like to limit people to the small. No.
You big eye?
No. I believe, no, you see, my philosophy is you do your best.
Yeah.
Because if you tell everybody to give $25 and the fella get $300,000 sitting in the bank, $25 ain't gonna benefit him. Mm-hmm. He could give much more than that. Mm-hmm. You see? So I always tell people, give your best. Your best might be not $25. Mm-hmm. Your best might be $25,000. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You see? So I would tell people who want to give, just do your best. Do the best that you could do. And see, Great Commission, as I said, is God's storehouse. So God is watching over us, and God is watching everybody who's given, and God knows our motives, and God knows what we could do. Mm-hmm. He knows if you can do something, do your best. And I'll tell you this: Great Commission Ministries is good ground to sow into. Mm-hmm. Just about everybody who support Great Commission are doing well financially. Mm-hmm. God keep blessing their business, keep blessing the individual donors, and they give us the reports. Mm-hmm. It keeps coming back. So the account number is at Commonwealth Bank 1002208. That's the Star Plaza branch. But it really don't make a difference. The branch doesn't make a difference. You just go to any Commonwealth Bank and tell them you'd like to make a deposit to Great Commission Ministries account. Even if you don't know the account number, they can pull it up. Mm-hmm. And they tell them it's the account that ends in 08. If you forget, just tell them it's the account that ends in 08, because we have a couple of accounts there. But the account number is 1002208, Star Plaza branch. But you can make the deposit or the transfer from any branch.
Okay, now let's talk about your new project that you're doing. I know we have the last 5 minutes, and I want to talk about this housing project that you plan to do or start doing now.
Thank you. For many years now, we have planned to build an emergency shelter for homeless persons. We've operated over the years probably about 6 or 7 shelters, and they've done very well. We've been able to accommodate hundreds, or maybe not hundreds, but thousands of homeless persons over the years. And with homelessness on the increase, we decided it's time now to move and get Hope City homeless shelter completed. And Hope City is a 100-bed, state-of-the-art, modern homeless shelter that will accommodate a lot of mothers and their children who find themselves without a roof over their head. It's going to accommodate men who find themselves evicted or without a job and nowhere to stay. We're gonna make a lot of people smile. We do our best right now, and it's very expensive operating shelters, but that is what we are called to do. And we believe that the $3 million that is needed to construct Hope City homeless shelter, we believe that we will get help from the government. We'll get some help from the public. We'll get help from churches. We'll get help from businesses. So we're asking all of them. We cannot do it without them. And we believe in God that we would be able to build this debt-free. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we are launching that officially tomorrow. And we have some special people that we've invited to share the vision of Hope City with at a special luncheon tomorrow. And then we plan to do the groundbreaking for that sometime in January. And by December of 2023, we anticipate that building would be completed debt-free, and that we'll be able to start taking in mothers and their children, fathers and their children, and we'll be able to take these people into the shelter who find themselves, for whatever reason, homeless.
Which area this shelter is going to be again?
It's on the main Carmichael Road, and it's just west of the detention center.
Okay.
Just west of it. One block west of the
This
detention
is going to
center.
be for displaced men and women, particularly women who have children. And what is going to be like a temporary housing?
Temporary housing for men, women, and children. We're gonna keep them until they can get their feet on the ground. They can get things sorted out until they can get their own place. So we can give them some time. Not forever now, because we have to always have space, make space for other people.
And how do we're going about to go right now? But how do people get in contact with you?
Our numbers are 325-5801, 325-5801. But if you want to get me direct, you can dial 326-8112. That you would get me direct on that number, 326-8112. Plus, I'm on social media, Facebook, and we also we getting ready to start Great Commission Ministries page on Facebook. We do have a website. Our web address is greatcommissionministries.com. And I want to thank you and your listeners for their support. We look forward to people stopping by Great Commission Ministries this week. Oh, one other thing. I forgot to mention this.
Make it quick there.
We need some civic organizations like Rotary, Kiwanis, to join up with Great Commission, helping us to raise some funds on the street during the month of December for the rest of the month.
Okay.
We're going to go in some key places like around the malls and the roundabouts and on the street lights with some buckets that say "Live to Give." The buckets say "Live to Give," and we're asking the public to put some money in those buckets for us.
This is being Guided Radio on AM with CA Newry. Have a wonderful day.